So it seems to me that you guys prefer the more informal, the more YouTube-centric review that you kind of typically find on YouTube gaming sites, and you're not really a huge fan of the quote-unquote professional reviews like you would see from either like a GameStop or LOL IGN or freaking terrible writers at Polygon. So that's what we're gonna go with, and we're gonna call this series Should You Buy It? The last time I did one of these was for No Man's Sky, and even though I didn't actually finish that game because my file got corrupted, you guys seem to still appreciate my final impressions on whether or not you should buy it. So we're going to continue on with this series, and it actually makes my life a lot easier because these videos take about like a fraction of the time of the other reviews that I've done, such as for like Uncharted or Quantum Break. So it makes my life a lot easier, especially since the video game Q4 season is about to ramp up. So I'm going to try to do as many of these as I possibly can, and hopefully you guys are going to enjoy them. So as a quick butt plug, by the end of this video, if you have decided that you do not want to buy this game but you still want to watch someone play it, I did complete a full stealth run on the channel that you can find the series linked to in the description. And yeah, let me know what you guys think, and let's get right into the review.
Solid copy.
So even though we're going to try to keep this as informal as possible, there's three things that I still want to focus on. The three pillars of what I believe make a great video game, and that is gameplay, graphics, and narrative/storytelling. And we're going to kind of briefly try to stick close to those guidelines without going completely off the rails like I tend to do, but we're going to try my best. So we'll start off with the weakest aspect of the game, which is its storytelling/narrative, whatever you want to call it. And at the very beginning of the game, you get like a 13-minute video kind of summarizing the events of Human Revolution, and it was deeply appreciated because that game really didn't have any special moments or events that were very memorable, and you kind of needed that story, understand that story to understand what was going on in this game. And unfortunately, that characteristic of unmemorable events and situations kind of carry on to this game as well. So once again, you're still playing as Adam Jensen. He's working for a different part of the government. I think it's called Interpol now. And what you're basically doing is trying to manage the conflict between the augmented people in the game and the unaugmented people of the game. The unaugmented people of the game feel a deep hatred towards the augmented people because of events that happened a couple of years ago when all the augmented people went absolutely schizo and nuts and started killing a lot of people. And then from the point of view of the augmented side, they feel oppressed. There's a lot of racial tensions and all that kind of stuff, terrorist attacks in some cases, and you're basically trying to balance both sides, and that's pretty much the entire story in a nutshell. It doesn't really get too much further deep into that. Just on the topic of Adam Jensen himself as a character, throughout their entire playthrough, the game hints multiple times that he's having a lot of difficulties trying to understand who exactly he is. And without spoiling it for you guys, it's kind of fairly obvious what the game is trying to allude to and trying to spell out for you guys. The problem is this kind of theme or storyline isn't really explored at all, even by the time you reach the end of the game. And it's very obvious that what they're doing is trying to build up for some extra story DLC that will probably be sold to you at an extra time or another time. And DLC is always, story DLC anyways, always leaves a bad taste in gamers' mouth. So I thought I would just kind of prepare you guys for that. Graphically, the game has its highs and its low points. We'll start off with the high points just so we start off on a positive note. And the game runs very well. I played on the PC version of the game. Everything was smooth. All the textures were very shiny. There was a high polygon count. The environments are done very well, even though there aren't a whole lot of diversity between all the environments and what the game would make you think, even though you do a bit of traveling. Pretty much the gameplay and the environments and how you move stays about the same. And one thing I will note as well, just I did have some issues with the game getting locked in a loading screen. I mentioned it a bunch of times throughout my entire walkthrough that I had to do a manual save just in case I hit a loading screen that would basically freeze the game, and I didn't want to lose any progress. So that's one thing that you might want to note and look out for. I was using the latest NVIDIA drivers as well, the latest build of the game, so by the time you watch this, the issue may have been resolved, but that's just some things that I noted. Moving on to the lows of the games, the downers, if you will. So the majority of the game, you spend a lot of time talking to NPCs and you have these very long and lengthy conversations with them. And you're basically, the camera is right in front of them and it's so close that you can pretty much see every single pore on their face. The problem with this though is that the character models, especially their facial expressions as well as their body movements, are rigid, very rigid at points to almost, they basically look like robots. So I feel like if a main core of the game was talking and interacting with a bunch of characters, they should have spent a little bit more time just trying to make sure that the NPCs as well as Adam Jensen just seemed more free-flowing and natural. Maybe I'm just nitpicking here. And on the issue of voice acting, so the voice acting is hit and miss depending on the character. Marchenko, who is the main boss of the game, if you want to call him that, his voice acting was done very well. Some other characters were not done as well, at some times as well poor. And once again, the Christopher Nolan Batman voice for Adam Jensen returns just as it was in Human Revolution. And this voice acting is very polarizing. Some people like it, some people absolutely hate it. Some people find that his voice acting is fitting to the character, and some other people find that it's basically like nails on a chalkboard and very, very forced. Nothing has changed from the previous game, so if you played the previous game, you know exactly what to expect and what to look forward to or not look forward to.
Not at first. I was investigating the people responsible for attacking Seraph Industries. I was this close to exposing them when the incident hit.
You weren't affected?
No.
Where the game really excels is the gameplay, and if you're a person who loves stealth games, this game is a definite 100% buy. It has all the aspects of a stealth game that you want, like replayability. There are different ways you can tackle a mission, and different outcomes and different decisions that you make earlier in the game can impact what happens later in the game. This is something that's always been a part of Deus Ex since the very first one. This very obscure thing that you find could have drastic impact at a later portion of the game, such as an antidote or a kill switch for another character. And it can be very subtle or be very in your face, but your actions do have consequences, and those consequences do get played out when you reach the very end of the game. From the very beginning of the game, it's fairly obvious that it wants you to choose a specific playstyle and try to stay closely to that as much as you possibly can. You can customize Adam with a whole bunch of old as well as a bunch of new and added abilities and tools and powers, and basically craft him as you would want to play. So there are more stealth abilities such as increased hacking ability, stealth cloaks, silent movement, and all that kind of stuff. But there's also more aggressive abilities such as overshields, blades that shoot out of your hands, and that basically lets you play as you want. But at its core, I feel that the game is supposed to be a stealth game. If you're going to run and gun it with the more aggressive powers and less recoil on your weapons and faster reloading, all that kind of stuff, you're probably not going to get the most out of the game, and you'll probably get through it in like 3 to 4 hours, which is not that much fun in my opinion. I think the way that you're going to enjoy this game most is through a stealth playthrough. So if you're not a person who is huge into stealth games, this game may not be for you. But if you are into stealth games, like I said, huge amount of replayability and a lot of cool powers that you can kind of custom tailor to yourself. One thing that is missing though, which is usually a staple of stealth games, is a ranking system or a summary of your actions for a specific mission. So usually in a game, stealth game like Metal Gear or Hitman, at the end of each mission or act, you get like a ranking system, how many people you killed, how many items you used, how many alarms you triggered. In this game, there's no such ranking system, and I really think that stealth people really like this. They want the game to recognize that they went out of their way to try to play as stealthily as possible and get rewarded either through some extra XP or some new weapons and all that kind of stuff. But that does not exist in Mankind Divided, so that is one mission that if you are a huge stealth person that you might want to take note of, and maybe it might turn you on or off. So those are my final impressions of Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Let me know what you guys think. If there's anything you guys agree with or strongly disagree with, leave your comments below and we'll have a friendly conversation. Probably not gonna stay friendly because this is YouTube and you can never really kind of like something. It's either you really like it or really hate it on YouTube. But I will try my best to respond to as many people as possible within the next couple days. In terms of a review score, I would give this game an 8.2. I don't really know where I come up with a 0.2, but I don't feel like it's an 8.5. I don't feel like it's an 8, so 8.2 is a number that I like. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed my final impressions and review. Let me know in the comment box what you guys think of the format for the video. And if you guys enjoyed it, please drop the video a quick thumbs up, or if you're watching this video a couple years down the line, whatever ranking system YouTube is using, because they're constantly changing shit around. Maybe in 5 years, the ranking system will be like a bag of dicks or something. But whatever it is, drop it, just do it. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. And as always, have a fantastic day.